We're going to talk about truth tables today, and in order to talk about truth tables, I've already introduced you to the fact that there are statements. We're going to call each statement P, Q, or R, just so you can see here that not P, okay, would be symbolized by this. It would be a statement of, or a negation of this, not Q, and actually this one here should read not R, not P. So there's your little symbol for negation. What does this look like in a Venn diagram? Well, let me show you here in a moment. A Venn diagram might look something like this. If you can imagine that I had two circles. Sorry, here's one, here's another. And this is going to be, let's call this P and this one Q. In the middle here, this shaded, if I was going to shade this right here, all of this section in the middle, this section right here would be P and Q. P or Q would be everything. This would be P or Q. So then in the middle here would be P and Q. Outside would be P or Q. Everything else, if I said not P would be, well, if I shaded in P, everything else would be not P. Okay? So everything else would be not P. But there's a little introduction to Venn diagrams. What I want to show you is the truth table and how to set it up. So you'll see something like this on my site, the same one. When I look at this one here, I'm going to start setting up truth tables. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, what if P was true? What if it was also false? Well, in order to make this up, there's an easy way to do it, and just to go, well, I'm going to go true, false, okay, something like this. The other scenario is, well, what if these are both true? Okay, so you can break it up any which way. The reason I do that is so I get every combination. Notice I have true, true, false, false, and false, false. I want every combination. Now when I do this, I can do the math. And the logic here works like this. Okay, when I'm solving for not P, it's everything that's opposite in this column. So this says true, this has got to be false. This says false, this has got to be true. This is true, this has got to be false. This is false, this has got to be true. So now I'm getting the opposite of this column. Same thing for not Q. Not Q would be false, false, true, true. They're really easy, but you're just going to get this. Now, when I get to something like P and Q, okay, P and Q, in order to do this, both have to be true in order for this to be true. So that first one, you can see I get a true, true, then that's going to be true. The rest of these all have some combination of false in there. And so these ones are all going to be false because I don't have both of them being true. So these are all going to be false. For or, one, at least one has to be true. So this first one would be true. At least one of them is. This one, true. This one, true. And this one, because neither is true, I'm going to say that that's going to be false. So again, you're just filling out a truth table along the way. Now it says not P and not Q. Now I got to look at these two columns. Well, because remember, and means both have to be. So this one's going to be false. This one's going to be false. This one's going to be false. And this one, because both are true, will be true. How about not P or Q? Now I look at not P and Q. These two columns are what I'm going to look at, these two right here. And what I want is at least one being true. Well, that's going to be true. That's going to be true. This has both false, so that's false. And this is also true. And then you get a real compound statement here, where I'd have to look at this column right here, that's that guy right there, plus P. So P and this one, and it's P and that. So both of these have to be true in order for it to be true. Well, I can see with the first column, that's true. The next one, oh, that's false. Next one, that's true, and that's true. So that's true, and that's false, and that's false. So that's automatically going to be false. Here's my truth table set up. I can set it up very quickly. Okay, it takes a little bit, but there's little rules you learn by whether it's and. Just remember that if it's and, okay, that's where both have to be true. If it's or, you only need one. You can have two, but you only need one, okay, to do these. But there's your truth table.